At night, Naomi would scroll through Sarah's social media, sitting at the glamorous lifestyle on display. The bitterness took root in her heart, and soon envy turned into obsession. Why should Sarah have everything while she had nothing? Naomi and Sarah were inseparable as children, growing up in the same neighborhood, attending the same schools, and sharing the same dreams. Their bond was unbreakable, or so they thought. While Sarah was naturally kind-hearted, Naomi often battled with insecurity, always feeling like she had something to prove. Despite their differences, they promised to always be there for each other no matter what. They imagined a future where they would both be successful and happy, celebrating each other's achievements. But as they grew older, their paths began to diverge. Sarah excelled in her studies and developed a calm, steady nature, while Naomi became increasingly competitive, always looking at what others had rather than appreciating her own blessings. As young adults, Sarah and Naomi's life took dramatically different turns. Sarah met a wealthy businessman, Andrew, who fell deeply in love with her. Their courtship was swift, and soon Sarah was planning a wedding fit for a fairy tale. Naomi was her maid of honor, smiling on the outside but burning with envy on the inside. Sarah's new life was filled with luxury, lavish vacations, and designer clothes. Meanwhile, Naomi struggled financially and felt left behind. The resentment she had long buried began to surface, and though Sarah never looked down on her, Naomi couldn't help but feel like she was now inferior in their friendship. Naomi's jealousy festered as she watched Sarah live the life she had always dreamed of. She started avoiding Sarah, making excuses to skip their usual meetings. At night, Naomi would scroll through Sarah's social media, sitting at the glamorous lifestyle on display. The bitterness took root in her heart, and soon envy turned into obsession. Why should Sarah have everything while she had nothing? Despite her feelings, Sarah remained the same, warm, caring, and always trying to include Naomi in her happiness. But Naomi began to resent even that kindness, seeing it as pity rather than genuine friendship. One evening, Sarah invited Naomi to dinner at her luxurious home. Sitting in Sarah's grand dining room, Naomi felt like an outsider in her friend's life. Every expensive piece of furniture, every glittering decoration, was a reminder of how different their worlds had become. As Sarah excitedly spoke about a new business venture she was starting, Naomi snapped, "Do you even realize how lucky you are? While you are here living in luxury, some of us are struggling just to get by." Sarah was stunned. "Naomi, I never meant to make you feel that way. You are my best friend, and I want us to support each other." But Naomi couldn't hear her. The envy had consumed her, and in that moment, she decided she wanted what Sarah had at any cost. Blinded by jealousy, Naomi began plotting ways to take Sarah down. If she couldn't have what Sarah had, then Sarah shouldn't have it either. She started spreading subtle rumors about Sarah, whispering to mutual friends about supposed cracks in Sarah's marriage. She even attempted to charm Andrew, hoping to plant seeds of doubt in his mind about his wife's loyalty. But Sarah remained blissfully unaware, continuing to treat Naomi with kindness, never suspecting the depth of her friend's growing hatred. As they walked along the cliffside path towards the secluded cottage, Sarah and Naomi exchanged casual banter, though Naomi could feel a tight knot in her stomach. The air was crisp, and the trees swayed gently in the breeze, but Naomi's mind was elsewhere. She had planned this weekend getaway with one goal in her mind: to end it all. Yet, as Sarah laughed and shared memories from their childhood, Naomi was torn. She had never seen Sarah so radiant and so carefree. "Do you remember the old oak tree behind the school?" Sarah asked with a smile. "We used to climb it and pretend we were explorers. I miss those days, Naomi." Naomi's heart clenched. She missed those days too, but she had changed, and so had Sarah. In that moment, Naomi wondered if she could really go through with her plan. But it wasn't the memory of the childhood that stopped her. It was Sarah's genuine warmth. As they neared the cliff's edge, she turned to Naomi, her eyes soft with concern. "I have been thinking a lot lately," Sarah said, pausing. "I feel like we have drifted apart. I miss the friendship we had. I know things have changed for me, but it doesn't mean I don't still care about you." For a split second, Naomi felt a wave of relief. The familiar warmth in Sarah's voice made her want to turn around and forget the dark thoughts that had clouded her judgment. She stopped walking, her chest tightening as she looked out over the landscape, the sweeping view of the valley below. "Sarah, Naomi started, but the words caught in her throat. A cold curse of wind blew, sending a shiver down her spine. For the first time in words felt like forever, she realized how far gone she had become, how much bitterness had consumed her. As she glanced over at Sarah, standing there with her arms outstretched, Naomi's vision blurred. In that moment, she saw the truth. She had almost destroyed everything. "I have been so selfish," Naomi whispered, her voice breaking. Tears streamed down Naomi's face as she collapsed to her knees, trembling. The weight of her jealousy, her envy, all the lies she had told herself came crashing down. She had thought she could take Sarah's life, her wealth, her happiness, thinking it would fill the empty space within her. But now, looking at Sarah's tear-filled eyes, Naomi realized how far she had fallen. "Sarah, Naomi gasped, trying to find words. "I didn't want to hurt you. I have been so jealous of you, and I thought that if I could just have your life, everything would be different. But now, I don't know what to do. I can't undo the things I have thought, the plans I have made." Sarah knelt down beside her, her hand resting gently on Naomi's shoulder. "Naomi," she said softly, her voice filled with understanding. "I have been hurt, yes, but I can see you are hurting too. We have both been through so much, and maybe we have both been looking for the wrong things." Naomi looked up at her, confusion mixed with guilt. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Sarah continued, her voice steady and calm, "that for so long I thought I needed wealth and status to be happy. But that's not the truth. Happiness comes from within, and the love we shared with the people who truly care about us, that's what matters most." Naomi's tears fell freely as she clung to Sarah's words, realizing how much she had missed the simple truth that had been right in front of her all along. In that moment, Naomi knew she could never take back the past, but she could change her future. I'm sorry, Sarah, she sobbed. I don't deserve your forgiveness. You do, Sarah whispered, pulling Naomi into a tight embrace. You always have. In the days that followed, Naomi found herself at a crossroads. She had confessed her envy and guilt, but now came the hardest part, healing. The road ahead was filled with uncertainty, but for the first time in years, Naomi felt a spark of hope. She couldn't undo the past, but she could choose to move forward. Naomi began attending therapy, opening up about her feelings of inadequacy and jealousy. She realized that for years she had been living in the shadow of others, comparing herself to people who thought had it all. But in facing her past, she started to understand that her worth wasn't determined by wealth or status. It was found in her heart, in the relationships she built, and in the forgiveness she received. Sarah continued to support her every step of the way, even though Naomi felt unworthy of her kindness. It was during one of her long talks with Naomi that she shared her vision. I want to start a business, Naomi said, hesitantly, something of my own. I have always dreamed of doing something creative, but I never had the courage. Sarah smiled warmly, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. I think that's a wonderful idea, Naomi, and I will help you however I can. For the first time in years, Naomi felt a sense of purpose and excitement. She threw herself into her business idea with all her heart, learning everything she could and taking small steps toward making it a reality. As she worked on her passion, she felt the weight of envy lifting, replaced by a deep sense of pride in her own accomplishments. But Naomi's transformation didn't happen overnight. It took time, patience, and constant self-reflection. She faced setbacks, moments of doubt, and the lingering temptation to compare herself to others. But with each step forward, she grew stronger, more confident in her ability to create the life she truly wanted. Naomi's journey wasn't easy. As her business began to take off, she faced the reality that true success wasn't about competition. It was about collaboration. She worked tirelessly, learning from others, and most importantly, learning to trust in herself. Through her work, she met new people who lifted her up, people who saw her for who she was, not for her wealth or her connections. One of these people was Jonathan, a kind-hearted man who shared her passion for creativity and innovation. Naomi's heart slowly began to heal, and she realized that love and support didn't have to come from wealth or status. They came from the people who believed in her. As her relationship with Jonathan blossomed, Naomi found herself falling in love again, not just with him, but with herself. She had spent so many years feeling empty, constantly chasing something she thought she needed, but now she was connected to who she was and contented with who she had become. She didn't need to be perfect, and she didn't need to compete. She was enough, just as she was. Jonathan and Naomi's relationship grew stronger. With each passing day, their connection was built on trust, mutual respect, and a shared vision for the future. Together, they built a life filled with love, creativity, and purpose. Months later, Naomi's business flourished, and her friendship with Sarah was stronger than ever. One evening, they sat together, discussing about their childhood dreams. "We made it," Naomi, Sarah said, smiling not in the way we imagined, but in the way that truly matters. Naomi no longer defined herself by what she lacked. She had built a life of her own, filled with purpose and love. She and Jonathan got engaged, and she realized that happiness had been within her reach all along. She just had to choose it. Though her journey wasn't always easy, Naomi faced each challenge with a newfound strength. She no longer let comparison steal her joy. Naomi and Jonathan's wedding was simple yet beautiful. Standing at the altar, she felt lighter than ever. This was the life she had always wanted, not built on wealth, but on love and purpose. As a mentor, Naomi used her experiences to help young women struggling with self-worth. She had turned her darkest moments into a source of light for others. Years later, Naomi looked back on her journey with pride. She had overcome jealousy, embraced growth, and found true happiness. And in the end, she learned that the greatest wealth wasn't found in riches, but in love, forgiveness, and a heart free from envy.